Swim naked lunch. I can feel the heat closing in. Feel them out there making their moves, setting up their devil doll stool pigeons. Crooning over my spoon and dropper I throw away at Washington Square Station. Vaulted turnstile and 2 flights down the iron stairs catch an uptown A train. Young, good-looking, crew-cut, Ivy League advertising exec type fruit holds the door back for me. I'm evidently his idea of a character. You know the type, comes on with bartenders and cab drivers talking about right hooks and all the counterman and needics by his first name. A real asshole. And right on time, this narcotics dick in a white trench coat. Imagine tailing somebody in a white trench coat, trying to pass as a fag, I guess, hit the platform. I can hear the way he would say it, holding my outfit in his left hand, right hand on his piece. I think you dropped something, fella. But the subway is moving. So long, Flatfoot, I yell, giving the fruit his B production. I look into the fruit's eyes, take in the white teeth, the Florida tan, the $200 sharkskin suit, the button-down Brooks Brothers shirt, and carrying the news as a prop. The only thing I read is Little Abner. A square wants to come on hip, talks about pod, and smoke it now and then, keep some around to offer the fast Hollywood types. Thanks, kid, I say. I can see you're one of our own. His face lights up like a pinball machine with stupid pink affect. Grassed on me, he did, I said morosely. I drew closer and laid my dirty, junky fingers on his sharkskin sleeve. And us blood brothers in the same dirty needle. I can tell you in confidence he is due for a hot shot. This is a cap of poison junk sold to an addict for liquidation purposes, often given to informers. Usually the hot shot is strychnine since it tastes and looks like junk. Ever see a hot shot hit, kid? I saw the gimp catch one in Philly. We rigged his room with a one-way whorehouse mirror and charged a Sosky to watch it. He never got the needle out of his arm. They don't if the shot is right. That's the way they find them, dropper full of clotted blood hanging out of a blue arm. The look in his eyes when it hit, kid, it was tasty. Recollect when I'm traveling with the Vigilante, best shake man in the industry, out in Chi. We was working the fags in Lincoln Park. So one night the Vigilante turns up for work in cowboy boots and a black vest with a hunk of tin on it and a lariat slung over his shoulder. So I says, "What's with you? You wig already?" He just looks at me and says, "Feel your hands, stranger," and hauls out an old rusty six-shooter. And I take off across Lincoln Park, bullets cutting all around me. And he hangs 3 fags before the fuzz nail him. I mean, the Vigilante earned his moniker. You ever notice how many expressions carry over from queers to con men, like raise, letting someone know you're in the same line? Get her. Get the paregoric kid giving that mark the build-up. Higger Beaver would him much too fast. The shoe store kid, he got that moniker shaking down fetishes in shoe stores, says, "Give it to a mark with KY and he will come back moaning for more." And when the kid spots a mark, he begins to breathe heavy. His face swells and his lips turn purple like an Eskimo in heat. Then slow, slow, he comes on the mark, feeling for him, palpating him with fingers of rotten ectoplasm. And the fruit is thinking, what a character. Wait till I tell the boys in Clark's about this one. He's a character collector would stand still for Joe Gould's Seagull Act. So I put it on him for a Sosky and made him meet to sell him some pod, as he calls it, thinking I'll catnip the jerk. "Well," I said, tapping my arm, "duty calls," as one judge said to another. "Be just, and if you can't be just, be arbitrary." I cut into the automat, and there is Bill Gaines, huddled in someone else's overcoat, looking like a 1910 banker with paresis. And old Bart, shabby and inconspicuous, dunking pound cake with his dirty fingers shiny over the dirt. I had some uptown customers Bill took care of, and Bart knew a few old relics from hot smoking times. Spectral janitors gray as ashes, phantom porters sweeping out dusty halls with a slow old man's hand, coughing and spitting in the junk-sick dawn. Retired asthmatic fences in theatrical hotels, Petipon Rose, the old madam from Peoria, stoical Chinese waiters never show sickness. Bart sought them out with his old junkie walk, patient, cautious, and slow. Dropped into their bloodless hands a few hours of warmth. I made the round with him once for kicks. You know how old people lose all shame about eating and it makes you puke to watch them? Old junkies are the same about junk. They gibber and squeal at sight of it. The spit hangs off their chin, their stomach rumbles, and all their guts grind in peristalsis while they cook up, dissolving the body's decent skin. You expect any moment a great blob of protoplasm will flop right out and surround the junk. Really disgust you to see it. Well, my boys will be like that one day, I thought, philosophically. Isn't life peculiar? In Mexico, the gimmick is to find a local junkie with a government script whereby they are allowed a certain quantity every month. Our man was old Ike, who'd spent most of his life in the States. I was traveling with Irene Kelly, and her was a sporting woman. In Butte, state of Montana, she gets the coke cars and runs through the hotel screaming Chinese coppers chase her with meat cleavers. I knew this cop in Chicago sniffed coke, used to come in form of crystals, blue crystals. So he go nuts and starts screaming the Federals is after him and run down this alley and stick his head in the garbage can. And I said, "What you think you are doing?" And he say, "Get away or I shoot you. I got myself hit good." We were getting some sea on our exit this time. Shit it in the main line, son. You can smell it going in, clean and cold in your nose and throat. Then a rush of pure pleasure right through the brain, lighting up those sea connections. Your head shatters in white explosions. 10 minutes later, you want another shot. You'll walk across town for another shot. But if you can't score for C, you eat, sleep, and forget about it. Now this is a yen of the brain alone, a need without feeling and without body. Earthbound ghost need, rancid ectoplasm swept out by an old junkie, coughing and spitting in the sick morning. One morning you wake up and take a speedball and feel bugs under your skin. 1890 cops with black mustaches block the doors and lean in through the windows, snarling their lips back from blue and gold embossed badges. Junkies march through the room singing the Muslim funeral song, bear the body of Bill Gaines, stigmata of his needle wounds glow with a soft blue flame. Purposeful, schizophrenic detectives sniff at your chamber pot. It's the coke horrors. Sit back and play it cool, and shoot in plenty of that GIM. Day of the Dead, I got the chucks and ate my little Willie's sugar skull. He cried and I had to go out for another. Walked past the cocktail lounge where they blasted the High-Lie bookie. The lavatory has been locked for 3 hours solid. I think they're using it for an operating room. Nurse, I can't find her pulse, doctor. Dr. Benway. Maybe she got it up her snatch in a finger stall. Nurse. Adrenaline, doctor? Dr. Benway. The night porter shot it all up for kicks. He looks around and picks up one of those rubber vacuum caps at the end of a stick they use to unstop toilets. He advances on the patient. Make an incision, Dr. Limp, he says to his appalled assistant. I'm going to massage the heart. Dr. Limp shrugs and begins the incision. Dr. Benway washes the suction cup by swishing it around in the toilet bowl. Should it be sterilized, doctor? Very likely, but there's no time. He sits on the suction cup like a cane seat, watching his assistant make the incision. You young squirts couldn't lance a pimple without an electric vibrating scalpel with automatic drain and suture. Soon we'll be operating by remote control on patients we never see. We'll be nothing but button pushers. All the skill is going out of surgery, all the know-how and make do. Did I ever tell you about the time I performed an appendectomy with a rusty sardine can? And once I was caught short without instrument one and removed an uterine tumor with my teeth. That was in the upper effendi, and besides, the incision is ready, Doctor. Dr. Benway forces the cup into the incision and works it up and down. Blood spurts all over the doctors, the nurse, and the wall. The cup makes a horrible sucking sound. I think she's gone, Doctor. Well, it's all a day's work. He walks across the room to a medicine cabinet. Some fucking drug addict has cut my cocaine with Saniflush. Nurse, send the boy out to fill this RX on the double. Dr. Benway is operating in an auditorium filled with students. Now, boys, you won't see this operation performed very often. There's a reason for that. You see, it has absolutely no medical value. No one knows what the purpose of it originally was, or if it had a purpose at all. Personally, I think it was a pure artistic creation from the beginning. Just as a bullfighter with his skill and knowledge extricates himself from danger, he has himself invoked, so in this operation, the surgeon deliberately endangers his patient, and then, with incredible speed and celerity, rescues him from death at the last possible split second. Did you ever see Dr. Tetrazzini perform? I say perform advisedly, because his operations were performances. He would start by throwing a scalpel across the room into the patient, and then make his entrance like a ballet dancer. His speed was incredible. I don't give them time to die, he would say. Tumors put him in a frenzy of rage. Fucking undisciplined cells, he would snarl, advancing on the tumor like a knife fighter. A young man leaps down into the operating theater and, whipping out a scalpel, advances on the patient. "An espontaneo! Stop him before he guts my patient." Espontaneo is a bullfighting term for a member of the audience who leaps down into the ring, pulls out a concealed cape, and attempts a few passes with the bull before he's dragged out of the ring. The orderly scuffle with the espontaneo was finally ejected from the hall. The anesthetist takes advantage of the confusion to pry a large gold filling from the patient's mouth. Bats Terminal has organized a purple-ass baboon stick for motorcycles. The huntsmen have gathered for the hunt breakfast in the Swarm Bar, a hangout for elegant pansies. The huntsmen strut about with imbecile narcissism in black leather jackets and studded belts, flexing their muscles for the fags to feel. They all wear enormous falsy baskets. Every now and then one of them throws a fag to the floor and pisses on him. They are drinking Victory Punch, compounded of paregoric, Spanish Fly, heavy black rum, Napoleon brandy, and canned heat. The punch is served from a great hollow gold baboon, crouched in snarling terror, snapping at a spear in his side. You twist the baboon's balls and punch runs out his cock. From time to time, hot hors d'oeuvres pop out the baboon's ass with a loud farting noise. When this happens, the huntsmen roar with bestial laughter and the fags shriek and twitch. Master of the hunt is Captain Everhard, who was drummed out of the Queen's 69th for palming a jockstrap in a game of strip poker. Motorcycles careening, jumping, overturning, spitting, shrieking, shitting baboons fighting hand to hand with the huntsman. Riderless cycles scrabbling about in the dust like crippled insects attacking baboon and huntsman. The party leader rides in triumph through yipping crowds. A dignified old man shits at sight of him and tries to sacrifice himself under the wheels of the car. Party leader: "Don't sacrifice your old dried-up person under the wheels of my brand-new Buick Roadmaster convertible with white-walled tires, hydraulic windows, and all the trimmings. It's a chip Arab trick. Look to thy accent, Ivan. Save it for fertilizer. We refer you to the conservation department to consummate your swell purpose. Hassan is a notorious liquefactionist and suspected to be a secret sender. Shucks, boys, he says with a disarming grin, I'm just a bloomin' old cancer and I gotta proliferate. He picks up a Texas accent associating with Dry-Hole Dutton, the Dallas Wildcatter, and he wears cowboy boots and a 10-gallon hat at all times, indoors and out. His eyes are invisible behind black glasses, his face smooth and blank as wax above a well-cut suit made entirely from immature, high-denomination banknotes. Banknotes are in fact currency, but they must mature before they can be negotiated. They keep hatching out all over me, he says shyly. It's like, gee, I don't know how to say it. It's like I was a mummy scorpion carrying those little baby notes around on my warm body and feeling them grow. Gosh, I hope I don't bore you with all this. Salvador, known as Sally to his friends, he always keeps a few friends around and pays them by the hour, got cured in the slunk business in World War II. The Pure Food and Drug Department have his picture in their files, a heavy-faced man with an embalmed look, as if paraffin had been injected under the skin, which is smooth, shiny, and poreless. One eye is dead gray color, round as a marble with flaws and opaque spots. The other is black and shiny, an old, undreaming insect eye. His eyes are normally invisible behind black glasses. He looks sinister and enigmatic. His gestures and mannerisms are not yet comprehensible, like the secret police of a larval state. In moments of excitement, Salvador is apt to lapse into broken English. His accent at such moments suggests an Italian origin. He reads and speaks Etruscan. A squad of accountant investigators have made a life work of Sal's international dossier. His operations extend through the world in an inextricable, shifting web of subsidiaries, front companies, and aliases. He has held 23 passports and been deported 49 times. Deportation proceedings pending in Cuba, Pakistan, Hong Kong, and Yokohama. Salvador Hassan O'Leary, alias the Shoe Store Kid, alias Wrong Way Marv, alias Afterbirth Leary, alias Slunky Pete, alias Placenta Juan, alias K.Y. Ahmed, alias El Chinche, alias El Culito, for 15 solid pages of dossier, first tangled with the law in New York City, where he was traveling with a character known to the Brooklyn police as Blubber Wilson, who hustled his goofball money shaking down fetishists in shoe stores. Hassan was charged with third-degree extortion and conspiracy to impersonate a police officer. He had learned the shake man's number one rule, DT, ditch 10, which corresponds to the pilot's KFS, keep flying speed. As the vigilante puts it, if you get a rumble, kid, ditch your piece of tin if you have to swallow it. So they didn't bust him with a queer badge. Hassan testified against Wilson, who drew pen and def. Hassan's case was noli prost. I'd have drawn a nickel, Hassan said, if I hadn't met a decent cop. Hassan met a decent cop every time he took a fall. His dossier contains 3 pages of monikers indicating his proclivity for cooperating with the law. Playing ball, the cops call it. Others call it something else. Abe the Fuzz Lover, Finky Marv, the Crooning Hebe, Ollie the Stool, Wrong-O Sal, the Wailing Spick, the Sheeny Soprano, the Bronx Opera House, the Copper's Gin, the Answering Service, the Squeaking Syrian, the Cooing Cocksucker, the Musical Fruit, the Wrong Asshole, the Fairy Fink, Leary the Narc, the Lilting Leprechaun, Grassy Girt. He opened a sex shop in Yokohama, pushed junk in Beirut, pimped in Panama. During World War II, he shifted into high, took over a dairy in Holland and cut the butter with used axle grease, cornered the KY market in North Africa, and finally hit the jackpot with slunks. He prospered and proliferated, flooding the world with cut medicines and cheap counterfeit goods of every variety. Adulterated shark repellent, cut antibiotics, condemned parachutes, stale anti-venom, inactive serums and vaccines, leaking lifeboats.